Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Wareham School Committee. Today's Thursday, March 6th. I'll be filling in tonight for our chair, Kevin, who's not able to be here tonight. I'd just like to say that the meeting is being recorded and broadcast by WCTV. Jamie Wixon is not here tonight. Is anyone else recording the meeting? Okay, thank you. Wareham Week. So we'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first on the agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here who would like to address the committee? No one? Okay, then we'll move on to good news. Anyone have any good news they'd like to share?
Basketball team had a good season, boys basketball. They lost the other night, but
did?
they played very well.
Yeah. Girls basketball season did too. They made it into the playoffs.
Yeah, so that's good news.
If I'm not mistaken, the hockey team may have made it into the playoffs, or the team that the Wareham hockey players
Right,
play on, the
right.
co-op team. Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
yeah, I think so.
I don't want to take away in case it's in her student report, but the drama club competed at the
Yes.
National Theater Guild. I forget the exact initials for it, but being the first winner of an award for that organization in Wareham history, which was me, I wanted to mention I saw that in the paper and I was very impressed. Very happy to see them still competing, and gotta give a shout out to all the drama club kids.
If I'm not mistaken, they moved up to the next level
Yes.
also, and they're going to Brockton High School next, yes. So now that we've taken away Emma's whole report.
Oh, no. I do mention some of that, but I actually wasn't quite in the loop about girls basketball, so it's great to hear about them making it. I did note that boys basketball went on to the second round of the tournament, though. They lost. They still made it there, which is exciting. The final sports scores were 11-11 for boys basketball, which may be 12-11 now. Girls basketball was 9-11, boys track 1-4, and girls track 0-1. For clubs, Key Club has been very busy. They've been doing a lot recently. First of all, over February vacation, some of the students went to Camp Sunshine, in Casco, Maine. They help provide comfort to families who have a child with a life-threatening illness. They spent time with these kids and they brightened their days. This was kind of a big thing because I'm pretty sure it was an overnight event, so that was a big deal for them to go. On February 22nd, some of the Key Club students and Miss Schofield, I apologize if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, helped at the Wareham Recycle Center. On February 26th, students helped at the Wareham Free Library to set up their fabric fundraising sale. And on March 1st, students helped at Damien's Food Pantry. As you were just mentioning, the Viking Theater Company has been performing. They had 3 showings of the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon over the last 2 weeks, one of which was at Bourne High School, where they qualified to move on to the semifinals. I have it as the 2025 METG Festival, so that's very exciting for them. And multiple students were recognized receiving all-star awards. There was a lot of names, so that's really exciting. And then DECA attended the State Career Development Conference from February 27th to March 1st. Wareham students had a great time. They competed in Boston, where there was a total of 12,000 Massachusetts DECA students there. 2 Wareham students were finalists in their categories, and one of them is set to attend the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida on merit, so she'll be competing again there. 11 other students will also be attending through ICDC leadership positions, so they won't be competing, but they will still be there and they'll be participating in workshops. And then just some other things. Tomorrow, seniors are going to be able to attend the Credit for Life event, where they're going to learn important financial information. I'm very excited for that. And the annual student and staff basketball tournament will take place next Friday. This gives a chance for students and staff to play basketball together in a sort of pep rally style assembly, and students are always really excited to see the teachers play, so that should be fun per usual. And that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
So wait, Credit for Life is tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh.
And Monday during advisory, they're doing something separate, but their first scholarship fair, so that'll be a fun chance for seniors to be able to work with guidance counselors to get information on scholarships and work on them.
Yes, and that's a new event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this is the first annual, so they are planning to make it reoccurring. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Next on the agenda is principals report. So we have two principals here. I don't know who wants to first.
Jane and I are going to go together, I think, anyway.
Oh, okay.
We'll go to Boost and kindergarten registration as well, if
Okay,
we
sure,
may.
whatever you'd like, yep.
I'm also, if I may, I will report for the middle school to begin on
Yes.
behalf of Ms. Cote. So I will read the Wareham Middle School report. Ms. Cote reported that 92% student attendance for February. She says it's been a busy month for Wareham Middle School. On March 11th, the Mona Junior Drama Club presentation is going to be happening, and our grade 4 will be traveling over to view the presentation and take a tour of the Wareham Middle School. It'll be their first introduction of many. Mona Junior Drama Club presentation will be at 6 p.m. on March 12th. On March 13th, there'll be another presentation. And then the spring concert early at Wareham Middle School is going to be March 20th, 2025. And the whole community is invited for this great night of entertainment. March is College and Career Month at Wareham Middle School. They have a fun-filled time. Our community members and some former students will present their career paths in a 3-panel presentation to Wareham Middle School students on March 27th, 2025. On April 4th, the chorus and band students will present before the Providence Bruins game. They will enjoy the game very much. And that is the report from Wareham Middle School.
Thank you for sharing that for her.
And I will go on to my report. So March is a little bit of a long month for Wareham Elementary School, so we have started our presentations. We had our puppeteer this morning to prepare for grade 1. Tom, he comes every year, very enjoyable. We have our field trip to the grade 4 is going to the field trip next week. We kicked off, it's our big reading month this week and this month, and Dr. Zeus this week, and we have Read to Succeed beginning on Monday. This past Monday, we passed out our Read to Succeed. So it was popular back in the day at Deacon's, and it is relaunched. And this is just in an effort to continue to bring up our literacy scores. As you are well aware, our math scores continue to rise, our literacy scores are not, so we're making every effort in every area we can to improve our literacy scores. So this is a school-wide launch, and it began Monday. And that is really what's going on at Wareham Elementary School. We do have kindergarten registration that Jane and I will talk about momentarily. Questions?
Anyone have any questions? Dr. Chandler? The Read to Succeed program, is it like before, so are there parents coming in to? No,
We decided to do a little simpler, so I think Dr. DeAndrea just passed it out for you.
Yes, we have it here.
What we're doing is just, it's 10 minutes at a time. The families check off a box. The sheet is collected once it's completed. The children put a sticker. We have these huge butterflies that are displayed at our school. They put a sticker on the butterflies, and then as they go through, they're getting a bookmark, a bracelet, and different small rewards. And if they've passed in, I believe, 5, there's a gift card to Barnes & Noble.
Oh, okay.
That's a great gift card.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Do you still work with the Wareham Pediatrics?
We counsel with Wareham Pediatrics.
In terms of them handing out books and encouraging reading?
No, we haven't had a partnership with them when it comes to reading in quite some time.
Do you have any
That's a good
idea why it
principle.
stopped?
I have no idea. I don't remember it from the time I was principal in 2018.
I don't remember that.
It was called Born to Read.
Oh, I remember now. Yes, when the child was born, they received a book. Yep.
Right, they received a
thank
book
you.
and a letter from a fourth, I think it was a 4th grader would write a letter to the.
A friend of mine used to be part of Wareham Pediatrics. He's retired since last few years, but I remember the program because but I don't remember how many years ago it was.
Well, we did it right up until Toby Hospital took out the maternity ward, because we would bring a book, a Viking bib, a little package, and then when the maternity ward moved.
That
But
makes
the
perfect sense.
Yeah, but the CFCE grant still hands out books to the local laundromats and different places in town that kids might be, and they can take a book.
Thank you, Jane.
Yep.
I think the Friends of the Library also do the Imagination Library
Yes.
sign up kids up
Yep.
to 5 years old will get like a free book a month through that
Right.
program as
Yep.
well.
Okay.
All right, so quick one on pass. The night school, we have started our second semester. We have 43 students enrolled, 8 school choice, and we expect about 14 to graduate in June. 2 completed their coursework in January, and we anticipate the rest to finish for June. So that's where passes.
Questions?
That's good news.
Yeah, 43, is that your, I'm sorry, I can't remember, is that a higher number or lower number than usual?
It's a little higher. We have 8 school choice this semester. But it is higher. It
Which
could-
is not a bad thing.
No, and it could even be more with more space. So, but we're filling the rooms,
Yeah, okay.
right?
You are filling the room. I think you had 5 at one night this year,
Yeah, we have 5 classes going on, yep.
which is more than, usually it's 4. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Dr. Chandler, are we moving on to Mr. Palladino and then come back to you for Boost and kindergarten? Is that?
Absolutely, we'll just stay
I don't
right
know.
here and support him.
I'm just trying to follow the agenda. I don't.
There you go.
We can do it however. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for having me here. So just some attendance notes. February is a very short month for many reasons, but also with a vacation. There's only 15 school days. But we had a tough month with the flu. Our average attendance for our students was 91%. Our staff attendance also went down a little, and that's at 94%. Some good news, unfortunately, Tuesday night, all winter sports ended on that night. That was our last winter sport that was still playing. That was a boys' basketball game. In approximately 10 days, Coach, spring sports are going to start. And the kids are getting really excited about that. Usually, with the boys' basketball team, it's pretty much we finish that game on Sunday and we start sports on Monday. So all the kids have a little more time on their hands to get ready for spring sports. I'm really happy to announce the drama program has moved on to the state finals after competing in the regionals last week. This is only the second time that I'm aware of in the school's history that we've moved on in drama to the state finals. The last time was a couple years ago. We went to Weymouth and did really well there. They're going to Brockton this year on Friday, March 14th, and they'll compete at the state level, and I think they're going to do quite well there. So looking forward to that. This past weekend, our DECA students competed in the states, and we have 12 students, possibly 13, we'll find out in a couple of days, but definitely at least 12 going on to the international competition in Orlando, Florida in late April. So that's a really strong number for us. Just before I was here, I had the pleasure of being involved in our 8th grade dual enrollment parents' night, and we had a really good crowd there in the auditorium, and was really happy to see the numbers there. And we're starting the process of applications for dual enrollment for the 8th grade. Thursday and Friday this week, we also, Friday being tomorrow, we have MCAS retakes in grades 10 ELA. Monday, March 10th, we're trying something new with the scholarships. We're going to have a scholarship fair and advisory for the seniors to come down, and just like any other fair, there'll be tables with all the different scholarships being promoted. Really trying to get the seniors even more involved in the scholarship process. We have a tremendous amount of local scholarships, usually in the vicinity of somewhere between $275,000 and $300,000 that are given to our graduates. Really, when you look at surrounding schools and what they give, it doesn't even compare. We're 2, sometimes 3 times as much in local scholarships. We're very, very grateful for the local scholarship providers and what they do for our students, and it really helps to level the field for those students going on to college. So we're really trying to promote that any way we can, and this is something new that we're trying to do this year. We have more MCAS retests coming up on March 12th. That is for math. And Friday of next Friday, a week from tomorrow, we have our annual Credit for Life program, and we're always looking for volunteers. If anyone's free or hasn't already volunteered, they're always looking for volunteers. It's a great event for our seniors on kind of personal finance, and I love the way it's done, and it's now all digital. Before, we used to have the clipboards and the spreadsheets, but now it's all done digitally. And my favorite part is the students get to pick their vocation. So what are you gonna do when you graduate high school or college? And then through the program, it gives them a realistic starting base salary that they will receive when they either start the job after high school or start the job after college. And then they have to figure out all their finances, from housing, to cars, to cell phones, to cable, to internet, all of the expenses that everyone deals with. And then oftentimes when they're upside down, they have to go to credit counseling and figure out, are they gonna get a second job? Are they gonna get a loan? Are they gonna cut back? So it's very realistic, and it's underwritten by Cape Cod 5, and they've been doing this with us for, it seems like probably about 14 years now, obviously with a little hiatus during the pandemic. So that's a great event, and then again, that's for seniors, and it starts at 8:30 in the morning, and it goes on until the end of advisory. Later on that day, we coincidentally have our student-to-staff basketball game, and that's a great event for our students and staff. We combine teams. Usually there's at least 2 staff members and at least 2 students on the court at a time, and we have a great time with that. And so a lot going on in the gymnasium next Friday. Thursday, March 18th, is our junior class college planning night, and that's, again, Tuesday, March 18th at 6 p.m. It's, for juniors, it's really time now to start visiting colleges, so it's a great way for us to kind of get that momentum going with the parents and the students, talk about what they should be doing, not just in the spring with the visits, but also on the back end through Naviance with their research they should be doing, and then being ready for many students for early admissions at the start of the fall of their senior year. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a great event, and I'm really hoping we get a lot of parents there. We're doing AP mock exams on Saturday, March 22nd. Our students that are in AP classes have the opportunity, and most take advantage of it, of coming in and doing practice exams so that they're ready for their end of the course exams. And we have teachers that volunteer to help with that as well. And on the 23rd of March is our annual DECA dinner and auction. It's actually more of a lunch nowadays. They backed it up a little bit more and made it, it starts at 1:30. It usually goes till about 3:30. They're very efficient and very quick with the meal, and they're even more efficient with the auction. And again, that's March 23rd, Sunday, at the high school in the cafeteria at 1:30. This is our major fundraiser for DECA for all the students that compete, to help offset the costs for those competitions. We have more MCAS, the full MCAS Tuesday and Wednesday, March 25th and 26th for grade 10, and then more mock exams on March 29th. So we've got a lot going on at the school for events. And then I just want to real quickly highlight some initiatives that we're working on. We finished our second round of NUIA testing in English and math. We are analyzing that data. We've been doing some great PD, probably the best PD that we've done in at least 15 years, and I appreciate Dr. DeAndrea helping us out with that. We had ASCD come in to work with our inclusion classrooms, to work with the co-teachers. The lady from ASCD has spent 2 days in our school, in our classrooms, and what I love is at the end of the visit, we've been able to schedule time for her to reconvene with the teachers that she observed and with our assistant principal in charge of special ed as well. This last time, we took all of the leadership out of the afternoon meetings and just had her meet with the teachers, so maybe there could be some more organic conversations happening about the instruction without like fear of it being in an evaluation or something like that. And our next step is to have her go in and work on with the non-special ed classrooms, to talk about differentiating and to look at how the teachers are working with students that have IEPs but don't have the support of a co-taught classroom. So we're really excited about that. It's been really positive. The feedback from the teachers has been great. I will tell you that it's not always that way with PD. So to have people excited about professional development, it gets me excited. And we've done AI training now for a few rounds, and that has garnered a lot of excitement from the teachers. And as I believe potentially as a district, but definitely as a high school, we're going to have them back in the fall have the person back in the fall for a full day of in-service training on AI. And I think we have a really good lens on kind of what that's going to look like. So pretty exciting PD going on, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So that's just an update for kind of what went on in February and what's going on in March at the high school.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Jeff?
So two things. What is the goal of the AIPD?
The goal of the AIPD, it's actually got about 6 prongs to it. So one of the goals is to make sure that teachers are aware of how it could be used inappropriately. Another goal is to find a way for teachers to incorporate it into their lesson planning so that it is used appropriately and teachers are aware of how that could happen. Another goal is for teachers to use it to be more efficient. And so it's multi-pronged, like I said, and it's here. The kids are using it, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to have provisions in place to avoid plagiarism and things of that nature. So that's a big part of the goal.
Have you actually experienced plagiarism using AI in the last 6 months or since September?
There's been a couple of situations we've had to deal with, but we anticipated getting worse before it gets better, so.
Okay. And the penalty for it?
It's in the handbook, I don't want to cite the wrong, I'd have to have the handbook in front of me, but there's obviously a 0 on the.
But it's a 0, excuse me, but it's a serious penalty.
It's a, and it stays with them so that it actually shows up on their power score that they plagiarize, and it stays on for a period of time. There's quite a few pieces to the discipline.
Second question is, I heard that the term mock exams.
Yes.
Tell me what the goal is for the mock exams and what kind of exams are they?
Sure. So they're parallel to the end of the course exams, but they're kind of prorated based on where we are in the curriculum, because obviously you're not going to have the curriculum finished until the end of the term, or the end of the year, or just before the test for these folks. It also gives the students an opportunity. We have a lot of students that are juniors that are taking AP exams for the first time. So it allows them to kind of understand the process. And then at the end, they're able to see how they scored and where they could have scored more points, where they could have scored less points. From a teaching standpoint, the teachers are able to see, okay, where do we need to work a little harder on in the curriculum? It's really a good barometer for like all parties, not just the teachers.
So is it almost exclusively AP oriented?
Yes, it is exclusively AP oriented.
Okay, and how is the grading of that very comparable?
It's parallel.
So if you get a 4, you've got a 4.
We actually
You're
look
likely to
at,
get a 4 on the real exam, and if you get
Right.
a 2, you need to do something.
we actually have a spreadsheet that shows kind of the anticipated score for those kids based on these mock APs.
So the correlation is really
Very
good.
strong, very strong. And it also serves as maybe motivation for the kid to see, hey, you rated out as a 2, this kind of way we think you're gonna be. You wanna get the 3 to potentially get college credit, you gotta work a little bit harder here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brennan?
I just had a real quick question with what he brought up. You were talking about AI. Do you see that, AI is kind of a big, scary term for everyone out there with what it's being used for, what it could be used for.
Sure.
Do you anticipate, and this is open to any of you, do you anticipate it being a problem or something that we need to be maybe putting or thinking about putting safeguards in now?
I think.
It's kind of asking you to predict the future,
Yeah,
but.
well, we've all, I'm sure, heard about the situation in Hingham. I think that was last spring, maybe at the Hingham High School. It could be a problem. What we're trying to do is, first of all, make sure we have awareness of what it can do, because there are some teachers in the school that haven't, up until this year, really had no idea about AI and what it could do, what it couldn't do. So the first part is really making sure we educate the staff, and then further that education in a way of showing them how it can be used in a positive way versus the negative.
Yeah. All right, good.
I just had a question, I guess it could be for any of you. You talked about MCAS, and the kids, of course, are continuing to take the MCAS. So my question is, How many parents have you encountered that their understanding was that there wouldn't be any more MCAS testing? And is there a message, and this could be for the superintendent too, are we putting out a message to let people know? Is the district putting out a message? Like, what is the best way to handle that?
Well, I have not put out a message. There was the article in the Wareham Week that was, that explained that we are still administering MCAS. But the message is that it's still important, and that we use that data to, look at what we're doing and how we can improve our instruction.
Right. Well, I know that that's your message, but how do we get that to the families?
I think we have a message going out, because I think that really, if you look at it, the only thing that's changed is really for the high school folks. So we have a message going out next week in regards to making sure we educate the parents, because I think we have an obligation to do that. We have seen public officials that thought MCAS were disappearing. So obviously, to your point, we've got parents that thought that as well. So we want to make sure we get the message across that this is an important test. Just because it's not a high school requirement doesn't diminish the importance of it. From the high school standpoint, we have 25% of our students that are going to take that will be eligible for an $8,000 scholarship, the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. So we want to make sure we get that message out. We also want to get the message out that, if you don't pass it, there's going to be remedial courses, because when we sign off on that diploma, we have an expectation that they're at a certain level. And so if they want to have a say in a lot of electives, they should pass that exam as well. And that's true we have 8th graders obviously as well. For the 8th graders, if they want to stay out of the core math and English classes, they need to be proficient in English and math.
And for Wareham Elementary School, we published the dates in the update. We've already had our staff training, and on March 27th, the evening of March 27th, we're having a virtual family parent MCAS night to speak to it. And I have had a couple of conversations and meetings with parents to encourage them to continue to take the MCAS.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, Jeff, yeah.
On the subject you just raised, I think the state would be naive if they didn't think that the MCAS results were going to decline, which makes comparisons to prior years very difficult. But you mentioned something interesting, and maybe you could elaborate on that, which is you're using the MCAS results as a way of qualifying to take certain courses. I assume that's always been the case.
Right.
Is that true in the middle school? I assume it's not true in the elementary school, but do you think that's true also in the middle school?
I wouldn't want to speak for Tracy, but I think they would have some remedial classes, but I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable speaking.
Just answer for the high school.
Sure.
Could you elaborate on, and this is for my sake, but also for parents' sake who might be listening?
Sure. So if the student is not proficient in math or English in any grades for 8 through 10, we would have them in remedial classes to get them up to the standard they need to be at. Whether MCAS are required or not, we have an obligation to educate our students to make sure they're proficient in the areas that were formally outlined by
During the regular school year?
During the regular school year. So we would have, so the point that you brought up, that they wouldn't have as many choices in elective classes, because we would be prescribing specific core classes. It could be based on English only, could be based on math, could be based on both. And so we want to encourage the students to certainly try their best so that they have more flexibility in their schedule, because I know as a student, always enjoyed being able to pick some electives of high interest.
What percentage of your students are in these remedial courses now?
I would say it depends on the grade.
Total, ballpark.
Total, so remember, it's only 8, 9, and 10 that are in there, so I would say in the high teens.
Okay.
But I get that offset from 11th and 12th grade, but in regards to the percentage of students in 8th, 9th, and 10th that are in those classes, if I just looked at it from an 8th, 9th, and 10th standpoint, it would be more in the 23, 24%.
Understood. Thank you.
And I will safely say for the middle school that Ms. Cote has put into place accelerated courses, and I know that she uses that data to place students in the acceleration program.
So why would, I know this is getting fairly detailed, but it's important to me anyway. Why would you use MCAS numbers for these decisions as compared to NUIA?
Oh, I would use both. I always use both. My scores tend to be very comparable, as we've
Yes,
ever,
I know.
I know, I showed that report to you. So that shows me the fidelity in both NUIA and MCAS, that the data reflects virtually the same, very similar. So I use both.
We've only used NUIA for a few years now, so I'm not as confident as Dr. Chandler is, but I think we'll be there in a few more years. I just like to have a few years of data to be able to make sure it's valid.
Understood. Thank you.
So to that point that you made, like when Dylan was at the high school, his MCAS scores were always exemplary, whether or not his effort in the actual classes weren't, but that helped him be more challenged. Like they put him in for English and math in more like kind of higher level classes because they knew he was capable, whether or not he continued to push himself to be capable. But the MCAS, he was like, why am I in like honor in 8th grade when he got put into like an honors English? So he had kind of, and even for his foreign language, the MCAS scores bumped him up in Spanish. So by the time he was done with his freshman year, he had completed his foreign language graduation requirement at the end of freshman year because he had done because of the 8th grade and the 9th grade MCAS scores.
And since you brought up Dylan, I'm going to use him.
Please do.
Dylan also exhausted every single art class we had to offer, and the reason he was able to do that was because he never had to be in the remedial courses. So he really, I don't think there was an art class left that he hadn't taken at the high school.
No.
And he had that flexibility because of his MCAS scores.
Got it.
And because he didn't have to keep taking a foreign language.
That didn't hurt either.
I just have one more thing I want to ask, not just you guys, but you as well, actually. Is it naive to hope that maybe because the pressure is off of, this test is what you need to graduate, without this test you can't graduate? Because I know that a lot of kids felt kind of extra pressure with, in regards to the MCAS and how everything seems so MCAS focused. Is it naive to think that maybe with a little bit of the pressure off, the students might actually do better because they're not as stressed out?
Boy, that would be phenomenal. I would be the most excited.
Well, I'm just thinking that when I was a student, like, it was
Stay tuned.
all about, taking the SATs, and then they hit us with the ACTs, and I know so many kids that didn't know what the ACTs were. I didn't know what it was until like 2 days before the test, where it's like, we got to do a what now? And a lot of kids I know, this is almost 30 years ago, but we all did better on ACTs. Many did better on ACTs than SATs because we didn't have time to build up the pressure and concern about it. So you as a student, I know teacher expectations are obviously like, please, but do you guys feel any less pressure? How has this vote affected students' perception of taking MCAS and how you prepare for it?
Actually, I haven't heard a lot from like kids in general, so I don't feel that I can completely speak for everyone, but I think that there's definitely probably going to be a decrease that we see. I would agree with what's been said, but I think that there will still be groups of students that are going to push themselves, and like you said, it's, not required in the same way, but they're going to want to see those scores, and with the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship, kids work towards that. I know, I was always thinking of taking my MCAS, and if I was a younger kid taking the MCAS now with the requirements changed, I would still feel the same way of wanting to push myself and do well. So I think there's always going to be those students that you see still working towards it, and I don't think it not being a graduation requirement will stop them from wanting to do well, just like the SATs have become optional for a lot of colleges, but kids still work really hard for it. I took SAT prep last year, it's not required, but it's a great thing, and it looks good to colleges, to your school itself, it can get you scholarships, so I think that you're still going to see kids working towards it. It might just be maybe a smaller number that are
I don't
working
think
that
there's
hard.
going to be a decrease in effort. I'm just saying that because it's not pushed in such a requirement, that they may actually do better because they're less stressed about it.
I think
I
there's a
think
very
some
small
kids-
percentage that would fall into that
That's
category.
kind of wishful thinking.
My concern is the other category.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
So we'll move on to discussion on the Boost program.
Okay, so when we're talking about Boost, we're talking about Summer Boost. We were very fortunate many years ago, I guess about 7 now, where we began the Boost program to support literacy through the summer months. A lot of research shows that children can flatline or even regress over summer without, regular education. So this was a wonderful opportunity to incorporate a really stringent literacy program to improve literacy scores. So thankfully, Jane Fondulis and the CARE program had picked up the funding for the Boost program through Summer Care, and we've been able to run it for these many years. We're just looking at numbers, and we're looking at rejuvenating the Boost program for the summer months. As I've stated to you before, my literacy scores at Wareham Elementary School are really not where they should be, so it's a concern. So it's my due diligence as school principal to find each and every way to improve those literacy scores, including the summer months. Just roughly to gauge where we're at with literacy, according to our NUIA scores in winter, I have a total of 100 students, K through 4, that are in the red, which means way below reading level. I have 125 students in the orange, which is below. I have 170 in the yellow, which means verging on proficiency. I have 200 students in the green and 100 students in the blue. So our estimates are that 225 students are in the red and the orange, okay, and 170 in the yellow. Now, some of these students are in the red, are already getting serviced for the summer, and some of them, but we were servicing 60 students. We're servicing 60 students when it comes to just literacy. So I need to find out how to make sure we're not servicing 60, but more like 240. So Jane and I have been talking, we've also been talking to Dr. Andrea and other stakeholders to see ways in which we can boost our Boost program. That sounds very cliche, but that's really what we need to do. So without further funding, the least what we can do for Jane, and Jane's going to speak to this, but with what we have now is that we were running 4 classes, 1 class from K going into 1, a teacher going to 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. It was 4 staff members with 15 students, 60 students, just not enough. So we're proposing that at least those 4 staff members are now going to run 2 programs, an AM and a PM. So at least we're doubling the number of students, which is 120. What we need is double that. We really need 8 Boost teachers, 2 per grade, for the 240 that I spoke about. And I'm still missing a few students there that are not getting captured. So that's really a little bit about Boost. It's going to be 5 weeks. It's going to be running from July 7th through August 7th, along with CARE. But we've noticed, the Boost program, so it's an ELA program, it's a full-day program for these 15 students. And what Jane and I have observed the last 2 years is that they're not going on the field trips. They're not necessarily engaged in some of their other CARE programming because they're boosting all day long. Well, 6 hours of Boost, they may not need 6 hours of literacy. I think we can get a great bang for our buck with the half-day programs. just if we think about AM, PM kindergarten back in the day, you know, we have full-day kindergarten now, but there's still recess, there's lunches, other times there. But I think if we can, take that time and really make sure that it's just the most effective measurement of time for these children. In addition, with that, I've also spoken to Dr. DeAndrea. There's a deficit in reading. We have a strong deficit in reading, and I have data to show that children who have a very strong deficit in reading with Wilson-trained teachers make vast improvements. I have 3 students that are working through the Wilson program that have traveled from the red zone to the green zone. So I've proposed and asked for student services to support at least one Wilson reading teacher to also work with those boost students throughout the day in the AM and the PM. That would be approximately $4,300. But my dream would be 8 and 2 Wilson-trained teachers.
8, okay.
8, yep. 8 boost teachers.
Are you ready for questions, or do you?
Sure, Jane, would you like to add to it?
No, I think you pretty much, it originated as a 5.5-hour program, 4 days a week for the 5 weeks, because the boost, it was originated on 100 hours of instruction. So as Bethany mentioned, you get more bang for the buck. So the way our program goes, the morning cohort would have 2.5 solid hours and then go to lunch, and then have an afternoon of hands-on project-based. Then the afternoon cohort would do 2.5 solid hours for 4 days a week for the 5 weeks. So they would at least be getting a good amount of reading and literacy. As well as the CARE program, our academic focus is on reading and written communication as well, but in a different approach.
Okay. Go ahead, April.
So by splitting it to AM, PM, like right now, you have a cohort of kids that are there for 6 hours. Is this parent drop-off, parent pickup for these, or this bust?
No, it's under their bus with all
Okay,
of our
so
kids.
if it's now split between AM and PM, what is that doing for transportation and budgeting? And do you believe that you'll have more kids involved in this, or because the time isn't like a full day or like a longer day where working parents are possibly, some might be leaving, a little bit early or something to be able to accommodate even the 6 hours as opposed to a full 8-hour day? Do you think that by splitting it, that might hinder the amount of kids that are able to participate because it's less time?
Well, if it's being funded under the 21st Century Grants and along with Title I, it's a full-day program. So even if they're doing the AM cohort as boost, they have to stay the full day.
Okay, so I think I was misunderstanding, because when you explained it like AM,
Right,
PM
yeah.
kindergarten, you're not
It's
there
just
the whole
they're
day,
gonna
you're
be
there
flipping,
less.
yeah.
So they'll start with care, go to boost, then
Or vice
end, or
versa.
vice versa. Okay, that clears that up, okay.
However, I would be more than willing to happily invite students to go to Boost a half a day if their families can provide transportation. Just like if I could think of it like peer preschool. Peer preschool families come, they drop off their children and pick them up. Those children are not provided transportation. I would happily invite students who are in need of literacy services to be part of the Boost program now that these slots have opened for a half day, because there are some families who would appreciate just
And
the
we've
2.5
done that
hours.
in the past too, where we've had half-morning programs that are not paid for through the 21st Century Grants, so it can be a parent drop-off and pick-up.
Now, are there any, just because I happen to know like some Wilson tutors and things like that, does Wilson ever provide for a district with the high need that we have any sort of like scholarship or grant affiliation to utilize Wilson-trained staff for a program specific like that? Like, is there, maybe not a year-round, but is that ever anything that's been heard of or thought of or looked into for the possibility of even a partial grant for, because it's a small
Right.
perioded program that, you know, I don't know if that's something that is worth
Well, I
looking
think Dr.
into.
DeAndrea can speak a little to this. I'm not going to put you on the spot, Dr. DeAndrea, but I just did, I'm sorry. But I do believe we are training 4 staff members
Yeah, we're looking to
Looking to
train
s-
5, yes.
for Wilson for the summer.
Yeah, and
And it is through grants.
it's grant money, yes, but there is no grant specific for what you're
Right.
referring to. I can certainly look into it. I'm not aware of any. And we've been talking to Wilson quite a bit, so.
Okay, thank you.
I know that you said that, you know, your dream would be to have 8 fully
Bless you.
Wilson-trained teachers and everything.
No, not Wilson, no, not 8, no, 2 Wilson-trained, 8 literacy teachers.
Okay. Since this is a summer program, I just don't know, but what about parental involvement? Can parents volunteer to help, and would that help you, or would it be kind of harder to get the parents trained the right way to help the kids? But, I mean, you know, we know what the budget is.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of ways to get you, you know, more
Yeah.
bodies to help out.
I won't speak on behalf of the summer program for Jane because she's the coordinator of that. I will tell you that we're trying to build momentum in Wareham Elementary School. Kudos to Jackie Trecker. She's doing the Red Bucket Brigade in grade 1. I have volunteers that are doing a beautiful job. They come in, they pick up the tools, and they volunteer. We're just trying to expand that for our literacy. We're all trying to improve these scores. I have teachers staying after school with groups voluntarily. You know, we're all making that effort. When it comes to summer programming, I'm not sure that's something that Jane would speak to when it comes to the volunteer. I do know she has students that do volunteers.
That's
work.
what I'm asking is, I mean, would it be beneficial if one parent, you know, could come in and
Yeah.
read to the kids for an hour, you know, every Monday? Would that help, or would that not be enough? I mean, because I think there's some parents that want to get involved, but they either don't know what they need to do, or maybe it is too much of a commitment with work or whatever. But what kind of little things could parents get together and do? Because I've got a Facebook group that, you know, I get questions
Right,
from parents sometimes, and what kind of message do you want to get out to the parents of how they can help with the summer program, besides just making sure your kid gets there?
Well, I mean,
That's key.
with the school year, you know, there are more opportunities for parents to get involved. The summer program is such a short amount of time. We have to accomplish a lot in that time. And for most of our kids that do summer programming, they're doing it, we're grateful that they can come to us and get academics, but in a hands-on, project-based atmosphere. But for a majority of the families, it's childcare. So there is no families that can come in and read or whatever because they are working.
I understand.
But not that we would stop them from
I
coming.
was there.
Yeah,
Jacob was.
I know.
Jacob did care.
Yeah, but I wouldn't stop anybody from wanting to participate and help us out in any way. Jeff?
So I think you know that I applaud this. I can also tell you with a great deal of confidence that our chair applauds this, and I don't think there's anything more important that we can do with our budget dollars than support your dream. And I don't want it to be a dream. I want it to be a reality. Those 240 kids deserve to get to Tracy in the middle school proficient in reading. So go for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sweat. And it's throughout the year, too. I mean, we are hammering away at Wareham Elementary School. We're working extremely hard with the resources we have to get where we need to be at, to get these children meeting grade level standards each and every year before they go to the next grade level. It's a challenge, it's hard work, but we will continue to strive each and every way and recreate programs that, you know, we need to look at. You know, it's important for us to revisit and keep pounding away to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure our children are performing where they need to be performing, because that's our job.
And most of the DESE grants now that are coming, that are out, in the past, you know, they had requirements. Now the focus on all of the grants is deeper learning. So it's an extension of what's going on during the day school, but again, with a different approach, but definitely deeper learning.
Well, I absolutely agree with what Jeff just said, but I want to be clear about what is it you're asking for. So the program as it exists is grant funded all
Yes.
through the
The
care?
Jane has
teachers.
always funded Boost program for 4 teachers.
Okay.
I'm asking to post for 8 teachers.
Okay.
I do not know where the the funding for the other 4 staff members for the summer Boost program will come from. I do know that Ms. Fay said that she would be able to support 1 Wilson trained teacher for me to post as well. So at this time, I've secured 4 Boost teachers and 1 Wilson trained teacher to post.
But it would also increase not only the cost of the 4 additional teachers to get you to 8, it's going to increase your cost in transportation
Transportation, yeah.
because you're now going to add more kids, so it's probably an additional bus and a half.
Right. So what, do you have an idea of that dollar figure?
We did come up
I
with,
think we do.
yeah.
Dr. Andrew, do you have that figure
It's-
with you?
So, probably all said and done, you're looking at about $50,000. So I have some good news that I can share. The town is going to give us a little bit more money than they anticipated for FY '26, $159,514 more. We will, I'll give you more information on that at our next meeting, because we have to re-vote the final number because it increased. That's good news. I'm working with Kristen to determine exactly what this means for the FY '26 budget. You know, we were $650,000 in the hole. There has been, this is really great that we've got this extra money from the town. Thank you to the town again. And there's been some changes around out-of-district tuitions, some grants, and so that 650 is going to be less, and I just don't know exactly how much less. So Kristen's been working on that, and I'll have more information for you folks at our next meeting. Certainly, we want to make this happen, so we got to get creative and figure it out.
Okay, happy to hear you say that. And this is fiscal year '26 that this program would be funded from?
That's
So it'll
correct.
be next year's budget?
That's correct.
Okay. And are you confident that the 240 students, if you gave them the opportunity to come to this, that they would all be
I
able
think
to?
so. Yep. What I will, yes, because I do have requests now for families just to enter Boost that have been doing it for years now. So we have that clientele. I have new I'm absolutely positive. I also think that some of the care students that Jane has had for full-time, I will be able to loop into Boost for half-time,
Parents chose not to do.
not to do Boost.
So this way, they're going to get the best of both worlds.
Okay.
So yes.
Why would they choose not to do?
Because Boost is intense. It's 5.5 hours of literacy when you're, and then your child could do theater, outside, recreation, cooking. So
Going
So it'll be a
kayaking.
combination.
it's a combination of making sure that those children are getting what they need and also the enrichment that they also need.
So is the Boost program, do you find that students improve? Or that
Yes.
they stay, they don't lose over the summer?
Yep, we've looked at some data. I mean, a few of my students do go down. Some stay status quo, I don't have it exactly. And then I do have several that move up. They really do, because it has a smaller group setting. It's a more relaxed atmosphere. It's summertime with a different instructor. It's a different voice. And there's support that Jane provides that is wonderful. You have your high school.
We have the high school interns.
And they're
we have-
wonderful, so there's support there too.
Right, and the college interns who have come back for the last 3 years that want to do the Boost. So, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
I just have, it is great news that you mentioned that the town is willing to give us more money. And I know that anything that would go for, would need a vote of us anyways, and a full whatever to fund anything further and adjust the next budget. An extra $159,000, while it's great, doesn't really fix a $600-something deficit that we were fighting with when we have other things and positions and, negotiation and things happening. So I don't want to feel like we're like, yes, we find out now that we're getting this, so we're going to fund this when there's a bigger pie that needs some leveling. So I just don't want us to get too excited and jump the gun with anything, even though I do agree that it's amazing, but there's just so many other things, and I wish that it was more than 159,000 that we could divide out and keep everything as well-funded as it needs to be for all the schools, but that worries me hearing that and knowing that, like, just trying to, I know we always get creative in the district and do the best for our kids. I just want to make sure that it's not like people misunderstand that we're granting part of that ahead of time when it hasn't been voted, so.
Well, I'd like to think that even if we hadn't just received that news from the town, that we would still prioritize this, because this is clearly a priority in the district. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, you're right, April. I mean, there was still, like you said, like I said, there was 650,000, this is 159. There's still lots of challenges within the budget that we need to address.
All right, well, thank you.
You're
very much.
welcome.
Thank you.
Some kindergarten?
We're going to talk about kindergarten registration now. Kindergarten registration is happening next week. This is going to be the class of 2038 coming our way.
That sounds insane.
Jane is going to stay with me because also, once again, we have a great, the Community and Family Engagement Grant.
We have the two grants, the CFCE, which focuses on that transitional from preschool to kindergarten, as well as our CPPI grant. So we've really stepped it up this year, and as a matter of fact, Tuesday evening we had an event, because we have a CFCE council, so our preschools, Brandy Hill, our community partners, the principals, are all part of the council. So we kicked it off Tuesday night at Brandy Hill, where they did a transitioning from preschool to kindergarten. They had quite a good turnout. Tonight was at Little People's, and they all had a theme, and literacy books would be given out. And this is gearing up for kindergarten registration that will occur next week.
Yep. So we have kindergarten registration next week. It's happening Wednesday and Thursday, the 12th and 13th of March. All the information is on our website. It was posted in the Wareham Week and advertised there. We're very excited. We have many, many families already calling and getting their packets together. We anticipate to have, we're hoping to have about at least 90 to 100, because it really gets us going. And then they are involved. If we can register next week, we can get involved with all of the other excellent activities that the CFCE and the Community Engagement Family, they have going, including the puppet show, the kindergarten rally we have. So our committee's done a beautiful job of preparing it. I want to say a big thank you to the administrative assistants, Jen LaFrancois, Christine Ansel, Nurse Braley's always involved, coming in that evening. We have coincided with the PTA this year and last year, so we also have our book fair going on that night, so our families that are registering can also go upstairs and see our community and look at the Scholastic Book Fair, so it's going to be a great time. We just encourage our families to come out so we can get these children registered, gathering all their paperwork. Original birth certificates are needed. Raised, yeah.
Do you care who issues them?
The town. The birth certificate should come from the town.
It wasn't a joke.
Oh.
I mean, they could have come from anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Oh, yeah. It's usually get raised with Ms. LaFrancois, our registrar, is very familiar with all the different types of birth certificates out there in every language.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Typically, they do come from the town of Wareham, though.
I understand.
Yep. And that's what's happening. But we have, and then so what happens on registration night? It's a lot of paperwork we collect and whatnot, but we try to make it an engaging time, and they get their postcards for the screening that happens in June. They get their flyer for the puppet show. And this year, Jane?
We purchased 300 of these, so 150 will go home next week during the kindergarten registration, as well as the kindergarten rally. We have purchased blue canvas bags that in each bag will have this book, along with a literacy book, and then all the resources that Beyond School Time has, the community, our partners, so they go home with a real good swag bag after the kindergarten rally.
And this year, for the first year, we actually had a Zoom meeting in February for pre-registration to inform families of what to expect about kindergarten. And I had 28 families that came to that. So that was extremely impressive for our first showing, just to say, this is what you need. And so Ms. LaFrancois and others of us were there to answer any of their questions. And that's kindergarten registration. And I'll give you the numbers once they come in.
Quick question.
Excellent. Oh, sure, sorry.
ESL is a very small percentage of the Wareham population. Have you noticed over the last 5 years, say, that it's growing, or is it fairly stable?
It's growing slightly.
Slightly.
Yep. My earlier grades are higher than my upper grades. I have a higher population. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions about kindergarten registration?
I'll send those numbers in.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can
Can't wait
find
to
out
hear.
what our population will be like.
Kindergarten registration is very exciting.
It is. It's our
the whole
first, it's the
family.
first time that we get to see our newest students at Wareham Elementary School. It's the first time I get to meet them. And it's just, and it's so exciting for the families. They take
Really
pictures.
is,
It's like
yeah.
the first day of school, too. It's just, it's a lot of fun. I have some tears. But it's just a great opportunity. So we really look forward to it. It's their first
And you
year.
can all come scoop the ice cream.
Yeah, at the rally
In June.
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah,
June
all right.
4th,
June
that will be,
4th.
that's
Okay.
June 4th.
All right.
have
I know
one-
where my
At what
apron is. Do
time?
you have another question?
No idea yet.
Let me see if I have it on
Evening,
my,
daytime?
Evening.
It's
Oh, okay.
5 to 6.
I think it's 5. Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
it's 5
Mm-hmm.
o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be very interested to know whether getting the immunization records gets more difficult. It's a state requirement, correct?
Yes, Nurse Braley's diligent about it.
Yeah, I'm sure she's diligent. But I would hate to have us turning away kids for that reason.
Yeah,
But we don't have any choice, correct? This is not Wareham Public Schools, this is DESI, right?
right. There are exemptions that can be made.
Really? On the basis of what?
Letters can be sent. I've gotten a few over my years. There can be religious exemptions that are made.
So not from a pediatrician, from a clergyman?
Correct.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Difficult to obtain, you mean from the parent,
Yes.
not from, okay.
No, yes,
Yeah.
from the parent. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of like online parent groups where people are anonymously looking for pediatricians that will not go with the current standard of vaccine scheduling. So it's definitely an increasing conversation that's happening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the report of the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. You have the superintendent's newsletter in your packet, and I first ask for the approval of the bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain? 400.
Okay, and I have three gifts that I'm going to ask for your approval. First is $500 from the American Legion, John Comer, a past national commander to the American Legion. To the Wareham High School JROTC, Mr. Comer is a great uncle of one of our cadets.
Excellent.
Do you want to do them all
Motion to
together?
accept.
Yeah.
Together.
We can do them all together.
Okay.
Second is from Home Depot, the set materials for the Wareham Middle School Drama Club production, Moana. It's Moana Junior, is that?
Anna Junior, I think, yeah.
And so you can see first set the performances on March 12th and 13th. And the materials that they donated were 2x4s, plywood, wheel lock casters, foam board, and liquid nail adhesive. And finally, we have a $2,000 donation from an anonymous donor for the DECA travel expenses. So thank you to those 3 donations, and I ask for your approval.
Motion to accept.
Second.
So I actually have a question about the gift for the DECA expenses, which is very generous. I'd like to just know how it will be distributed. Will it be distributed equally to all students?
That's a good question.
Let me tell you why I'm asking, because my kids were in DECA. We had a DECA booster club. I'm familiar with how it goes. And there are opportunities for students to fundraise and to reduce the amount of their trip. So if you have 2 students who have done the same amount of DECA events, one may have worked some fundraisers, and that person might owe half the price, and the other person might not have done any fundraising, but might owe the full price of the trip. So will the person who owes half get half of their trip paid, and the person who owes the full amount, or will those 2 students each get the same amount?
Yeah, I'm going to have to find out for you because I don't know the answer.
Okay. All I'm asking is, will it be equitable to the students?
Sure. Yeah, and I'll talk to Scott and Lisa and ask how they've done that in the past. But I agree with you that it needs to be equitable, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, a very most generous
Absolutely.
donation.
Absolutely.
So could we ask that we hold off on the vote for that gift until we have that answer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We could vote it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know if it really I mean, I imagine that how it's distributed might be in question, but whether or not we're going to accept it, there's no way we're going to turn down. Regardless of the answer, I don't think we're going to turn down the gift. I think that we should accept it, and how it's distributed, I don't think that matters. Not that it doesn't matter.
No, I know
but-
what you're saying, but I guess I would vote to accept it if it isn't distributed until you're able to come back and tell us how it's
Yeah.
going to be distributed.
Sure. That works for me.
Okay. So I guess I would just ask there to be a.
Amend the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, amend the motion with the contingency discussed for the distribution of the DECA gift funds.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 400. Thank you.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay. So the next item is report of the school committee. I know we don't have any policy review tonight, that they saved that for next week.
Yep, so we have our last, well, we don't have, we had addressed all the policies that needed to be done. We normally would have had a meeting on March 12th if we hadn't, or if anything had been tabled, but we were able to get through all of the policies, so I just wanted to publicly thank the members of the Policy Review Committee for their time and dedication and commitment to reviewing all of the policies this year, and we will discuss and vote them at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Also, today I spoke with the chair, with Kevin Brajali, and I asked him what he thought about the school committee drafting a letter to the Massachusetts legislators regarding the recent move by the federal government to dissolve the Department of Education. So I just thought, I mean, we can send that message where it goes from there. So I'm not asking for a vote. Yes.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Sure.
Yep, go ahead.
So, 2 things. It's a huge question and goes beyond the Department of Education. The question is, it's not possible for the executive branch to dissolve the Department of Education because it was created by an act of Congress. It's not even possible for the executive branch to eliminate IDEA, Title I, et cetera, because those are acts that were approved by Congress. It is possible for the funding for the Department of Education to be at least temporarily gutted, shall we say. But that will have to be determined by the Supreme Court, because that's essentially what they're calling impoundment, which another way of talking about it is a pocket veto, which, interestingly enough, a pocket veto exists in Massachusetts. The governor can say, I don't like that line item in the budget, then the legislature has the ability to override the veto, et cetera. But it has been ruled unconstitutional as well as impoundment in past. Whether the Supreme Court will recognize those precedents remains to be seen. So I think the topic is hugely important, but it goes way beyond the Department of Education, the whole issue of impoundment.
Well, I still thought that it would be a good idea for
I'm not saying
the
it's
Wareham
not.
School Committee to send that message, and maybe you can work with the chair to draft that letter.
There's also been work with MASC on similar things for other districts and for MASC as a whole, from being on the leadership of MASC now. There's a lot going on.
I just suggested to him that we, as the Wareham School Committee, send a message.
I agree.
So you can work on that with him. And then, does anyone else have any other 48-hour business, anything to bring up? All right. With that said, our next meeting is in 2 weeks, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Joyce.
everyone. Good night.